Okay, well, we're here to discuss the moving to the cloud, the risk and reward strategies. And I'm very pleased we've got several people who've actually made that move or are making that move. So perhaps if I could introduce them all to you. As you know, we've got Jeremy, wasn't it, from Land Rover Jaguar. And in the spirit of the little girl who said you probably heard earlier that she wasn't able to download a particular film, could I just say I could really do with a new Jaguar, but there we are. I'll leave that with you. Thank you very much. I thought I'd get in first. Thank you very much. So could I please introduce, first of all, at the end, Marcello Cordioli, who is... That's me. Right, yes, I'll introduce you in a second. I'll introduce Marcello first. Hey, this is going really well, isn't it, everybody? Yes, I did meet these people last night, and I like this shade of red. That's why I'm doing this. Okay, so sorry, Marcello, I do apologize. Who is the that's thrown me completely. Chief Executive Perma Stilisa. Thank you very much indeed for coming. And I could also welcome Jean-François Canen, Chief Technology of Capgemini Europe. Also in the middle there we have Olivier Carpiera, Infrastructures and Telecoms Director of Euromaster. Jeremy, we've seen to, and at long last, I do apologize, Claudio Umana, Chief Executive of Foraco. Thank you very much, Fracaro. Thank you very much indeed, all of you for coming. So, risk and reward. You go to your board meeting the first time and you say something like, I think we should go to the cloud computing. Is that career suicide? I mean, how do you actually broach the subject at first? You know, are you seen as an insane career suicidal person, or are you some sort of soothsayer? Let's start over here.
Oh, so you know, the adoption driver is a kind of unbeatable because when you move the IT cost from capex to opex, it's very important. Instead of investing millions before using, you pay just for what you need or what you are using. So you are investing in flexibility instead of paying for rigidity. This is appealing.
You're almost certainly that you're not starting from scratch with a large company, though, are you? You're almost certainly upgrading or cross-grading or taking out what you've already invested in. So how do you make that case?
I like the adoption model described this morning, and we have a lot of opportunity for new IT or new applications. Sometimes for replacement it can be more difficult because existing ideas has to be killed. You know, if you are doing some innovation, great ideas are here, but the most difficult thing is to kill existing ideas. You know, so you have to. The new west of the cloud computing model is that you must adopt a gradual approach, step by step, with demonstrators and so on.
Okay, Marcello, could you come in on that, perhaps?
Yeah, I think that definitely the choice is, in my view, coming top down. I mean, this is not the kind of choice that can come bottom up. So it's not that your user is banging to your door saying, sorry, sir, we would like to move to cloud computer. No. I mean, you have to come out, get good numbers, get good reason, get good selling argument to be able to win the board and to make these things happening. I mean, for our experience, the real winning argument has been the fact that, for example, in the world of mail, we are in a situation at this moment when mail is the first things that the company is requiring. A company can survive without SAP for a week, can probably survive without file server for 10 days, depends on if you are saving your films or not on the file servers. If you're saving your films, you probably require a bit less. But you can probably live with 10 days without the file server. You cannot live more than a few hours without the mail. And so the point of getting the mail under control and getting a proper disaster recovery option for the mail was the real winning factor that we had. I mean, if you try to put in place any disaster recovery plan for your mail, if you got an on-site mail system, you are dead, or you are lying, the way you prefer. I mean, either you say, I'm able to do it, but and in reality, when you try to do it, you're not able to do it, or you are dead the first time that a real accident is going to happen. So that, for us, has been the real argument for the board. And even if we clearly say up front, you are not going to have all the functionalities you got at the moment, but at the same time, we are going to say to stay on the safe side. I mean, that has been the winning argument.
Okay, if we take it down for a little from board level, Olivier, perhaps if you could tell me a bit about getting buy-in from the staff and the people on the ground. You're already laughing. I love this. I mean, I've been in companies where people have changed to a new computer system, or I've had friends who've changed to a new computer system. They don't care whether it's cloud. They don't know it's cloud. It's not an important concept to them. They just know it's another damn computer system, effectively fixing something they thought was working. How do you actually achieve buy-in from the ground level?
I'm laughing because that's the easiest question for me, by the way.
I knew that.
Being I would say, and the answer have already been done. Being in the automotive industry right now, in the context that everybody knows right now, definitely the cost driver was a key element. After that, as you said, they just don't care about being cloud or on-premise.
Does the end user care about the cost driver? You know, if you're an employee and if you're not a shareholder particularly, and as long as your pay packet arrives on time, does cost driver really come into your world?
For the end user themselves, they don't, for sure. But as Marcelo said, this is an initiative that must come top down, and the board itself don't care about functionalities or very few. The cost was really the trigger. And once we get the agreement and the sponsorship from them, it was quite easy to explain and deploy across all the users. Frankly speaking, we just demonstrate the cost benefits, and we do run some pilots with the board themselves. They jump into the proof of concept and the pilot phase. And they love the new functionality. They really enjoyed the chat and the video chat and things like that. They understood quite quickly the benefits in the long term it could be, assuming that we will be able to transform the organization and the way people are doing.
I suppose it must also help that Google's quite cleverly, I'm not sucking up here, but they've quite cleverly designed the consumer offering so that and the enterprise offering so they look an awful lot alike. If you've seen the web interface from working, doing your home stuff, you're not going to have a look at the corporate stuff and think, oh my God, what's that? I mean, Jeremy, perhaps if you could give us some insight into how you actually broached the subject at Rover Jaguar and how you how you made this
Jaguar Land Rover.
Jaguar Land Rover, yeah. Did you ever been to Rover?
Never.
He was a surprise guest. I heard about him 3 minutes ago. So yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
The question was, well, first of all, who do you work for? Once we got past that, I'm having a great time here. How did you actually broach the subject of cloud computing at first, and what were your initial arguments, and what was the reception?
Well, you know, about 6-7 months ago, I didn't have a clue what cloud computing was, but I was invited to speak at a conference on cloud computing, so I thought I'd better find out about it. So I did, and I spoke at the conference, and it fundamentally changed my, if you like, philosophy of IT management and IT technology investment. And I started to preach the gospel every opportunity I could. And at the same time, I wanted to search. I've been in post for just over a year, so I wanted to search for something that would, in effect, flag my credentials. I'm not a CIO brought in to administer the IT function and keep the same old stuff running. I've been recruited on a change agenda, a transformation agenda, to modernize not just the IT function, but also, if you like, the business communities that use IT technology. So I needed something to, if you like, to raise my flag and say, I'm here, I mean change, I will take decisions and do something different. If you just do the same as everybody else, then don't expect to be any better than average, is kind of where I'm at. So when I started to get schmoozed by Google, they did a good job. They proactively came to me, sold me the solution. We had a golden opportunity because we're still separating from the Ford organization. Mm-hmm. That's going to cost us about 200 million sterling, and we're still in the middle of it. And we're having to copy and clone 25, 30-year-old mainframe applications, hundreds of them, 1,600 applications, business-facing applications, costing an awful lot of money, and we're standing still for 2 years, and it's not adding any business value at all. So when we faced the decision, which was to effectively clone the Microsoft Outlook Exchange mail environment across the enterprise, I thought, here's an opportunity for me to do something smart, do something innovative, do something different, make a name within the organization for myself as somebody that's prepared to do something different and change. There was a business case. We've saved a considerable sum of money in the one-off costs to get us there, but also operating costs into the future. But that wasn't the driver. That just enabled me to get the approval process signed off quickly. What it will give us in the future, I think, is access to a commodity technology, a mail solution, which will be absolutely common across 14,500 users between Australia and Brazil and Iceland and wherever. So they were the drivers. I had an easy job because many of the workforce use Google and other cloud solutions at home. In fact, it's true that the experience of computing at home is years ahead of the experience in the corporate world, simply because of the constraints and the metrics that we're forced to abide by. So I found a couple of very, very strong, vociferous, well-respected individuals in the organization to help preach the gospel. Tim Davis, who's a board-level member, heads up quality. I mean, he's just been preaching the message along with me. People in the marketing department, I mean, I use the phrase gagging for Google because they couldn't wait for it to... And also a few tricks, because many of the senior executives, they want mail down to a handheld device.
Sure.
But of course, as a corporation, we can't give everybody a device. But what Google does is allow us, ineffectively, to put a Google Mail down onto a handheld device, pretty much of their choice. So if they're happy to go out and buy one, and now, of course, you can get an Apple iPhone, for example, from January the 1st, through a number of operators, free of charge.
Yes, other smartphones are available.
So basically, just saying that to a number of people brought them into it. And we also ran a pilot. Part of Jaguar and Land Rover, we operate the Heritage Motor Museum in Warwickshire. Great place to visit if you've got a spare afternoon. And it's operated by a staff of about 60 people. So we ran a pilot over 2 months. And when we went to say, it's only a pilot, we're going to give you Outlook back, they said, no thanks, we want to stay as we are.
Okay.
So we've kind of won the hearts and minds, I think.
Okay, fair enough. Claudio, perhaps if I could ask you a little bit about the existing IT staff who have had skills built up from the older technologies. When you move over to cloud, what do you do with that staff? How do you redeploy them? Are there redundancies?
Yeah, I speak in Italian. Francesca, translate me. È già stato detto tutto prima. Il nostro è un caso particolare perché noi avevamo delle esigenze contrastanti. Io avevo la necessità di aumentare l'innovazione, portare innovazione, di aumentare il livello di sicurezza, paradossale, di diminuire i costi. Ecco, e avevo la necessità di avere persone per occuparmi di altro in azienda, ad esempio dei processi, dell'informazione nei processi, di aumentare il livello di servizio della parte di informatica che rimaneva. Ebbene, in questa maniera il problema mi si è risolto, sono riuscito ad arrivare a tutti questi risultati e ho avuto le persone di cui prima avevo bisogno, quindi non c'è stata necessità di riorganizzare le persone all'interno.
Thank you very much. I think everything has already been said on this subject. However, I think our case was rather special because we had contrasting needs. Because in fact, what we needed was to increase innovation. We wanted greater security, and of course, we wanted to reduce costs. So what I needed to do is to have the people for the processes and the information in such processes. And also, I wanted to increase the service level for all the rest. So having done all this, I was able to have all the people available. And in the end, I did not actually need to undergo a big reorganization.
Okay, sure. I mean, has anybody else found any redeployment issues because with people with existing legacy skills, perhaps, rather than the ones they would need for the cloud. Because as I was saying earlier, I think it was Nick's presentation, one of the great things about the cloud is you take away your data center. So if your staff are focused around maintaining that data center, do you redeploy? What do you do?
In my opinion, cloud is just outsourcing. Mm-hmm. So as we ran already outsourcing initiatives in 2006, 2007, it was, already done. So the stuff was already deployed. What we did is just moving from one data center that we knew from our outsourcer to another one, which we don't know really well, but which is at Google. So in terms of staff, definitely we had no impact in this move.
Okay, Jeremy.
It's early days yet. We've only dipped our toe into the cloud, as it were, to mix my metaphors. So we're only implementing Google applications at the moment, which is quite commoditized. Mm-hmm. But we are talking to a number of other cloud vendors, Salesforce.com. We've already done something in the HR space for employee records and things like that. But cloud computing is and will be a key piece of my IT strategy, which I'm just about to publish over the next 3 weeks to the organization. We are planning, if you like, a long period of sustained change over the next 3 to 5 years plus. And I do see the organization changing. It was mentioned earlier that managing partners, not just in terms of outsourced partners doing the technology, actually becoming almost like, if you like, an internal service integrator or broker, I think is an important role that will develop. And also, I think the more you push into the cloud, potentially, if you like, the lower the headcount required internally within the function. But more importantly, I think it pushes the IT function much closer to the business. And therefore, they have to become very good at business relationship management, demand management, if you like, solutions integration through the various application vendors in the cloud space. So that's the sort of journey we're planning over the next 3 to 5 years or so.
I agree. The fact you are really going to shift the resources from managing the servers into managing the users. This is for 2 reasons. You are able to get rid of your resources in managing the servers of the Exchange stuff that you got in place. You need probably other kind of skill into dealing with the population that you are going to enroll into this new application. One of the biggest changes that you have to do on this population is to make sure that they accept the one-size-fits-all that is part of the Google and the cloud approach. Because at the end of the day, the level of personalization that you can apply is equal to 0 or almost 0. So basically, you get a standard product, you have to convince and you have to move the people into working in this standard product. So, for example, myself, I got a completely different approach in terms of adoption. The example we say about the adoption of the Google stuff is like the H1N1. You got the influenza, and some of them are going to die. Most of them are going to recover. Some of them are getting the influenza, but they are not taking any symptoms. So you got the good one taking the influenza. So it's all right. We keep going. You get most of them that they go through the 3-week syndrome that finally, first week we are lost. Second week, we are not so bad. Third week, at the end, wasn't so bad. And you got some of them that are really, really lost. You get some missing in action, and they are really not able to cope with this new approach. And you have to take them in consideration. It's part of the game.
Okay.
I think we must distinguish using a software as a service application where the change mainly impacts users. But I do believe that developing application for the cloud is something completely different that we used to use. And we are investing a lot in developing expertise, in developing for the cloud or developing on the cloud, and also integrating existing applications with the cloud. Because I do believe also that in the next 10 years, we will have a kind of hybrid approach where we will have existing applications still running on-premise to be integrated with applications that will run on the cloud. Mm-hmm. And this requires some specific expertise, and we are investing a lot on this expertise.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for that, all of you. Jeremy, one quick point before we go to the audience.
one thing that hasn't been mentioned, and it's really the impact, I think, on the role of the CIO. And I think there's a real opportunity here for senior IT decision makers like ourselves to embrace this sort of technology and drive it, not just drive it in terms of what we do within our organizations, but drive these embryonic service providers in terms of what we want. I think over the last 20, 25 years or so, since the advent of the PC on the desk, computing power in the hands of the individual, and more importantly, network PCs, we've seen, in effect, the last 25 years where individual departments in organizations have been able to afford to do their own thing. And I can remember in the late 80s when I started out on my career, reading a report that said the top issue facing senior IT decision makers was integration of islands of technology and islands of information. Well, I think that issue hasn't changed 20-odd years later, despite all of the billions we've invested in ERP and Oracle and CRM and what have you. So the issues are still the same. And therefore, I think it's important for us as CIOs to recognize that our role changes. We can drive the providers, we can drive our business to different places, especially if you've got an enlightened CEO who understands technology and how to deploy it. And I think it gives us a greater degree of choice than we've had over the last 10, 15, 20 years. So ERP, for example, if you've got a large organization, where do you go to? Oracle or SAP? This sort of stuff starts to introduce some real options, which I think is important for us.
Thank you very much. I would like to move to audience questions now. If anybody has, we'll start with this side of the room who's been watching the back of my head for the last 25 minutes. Does anybody over here have a question? I'll come back to you. We have a gentleman there with the, yes, with a hand up indeed. So.
Hi, Dominic Shine, CIO of Reed Exhibitions. Microsoft have just launched Windows 7. Given that each of you are aggressively moving to the cloud, how are you viewing Windows 7, and will you be upgrading or looking at other alternatives?
As always with the Windows products, you wait a couple of years and then you decide. I think that is what we have done. We all have done with Vista. We wait a couple of years. We decided to us get a very short word in mind, but I'm not going to use it. It was not all right for the organization, and so we wait for the next version. Now I think we are going to see Windows 7 and decide what to do. At the end of the day, our old XP with a good browser is doing the job.
XP?
Yes.
You're on XP?
Yeah.
What would you be on then, Jeremy?
I have no idea. I have a man that handles that sort of technical stuff on me.
Very political answer.
I'll get my people to talk to your people sometime. That's absolutely fine. Okay. Yes, please.
Ecco, nel nostro caso noi amiamo spesso ragionare per assurdo se si pensa che nel 1933 è stata fondata un'azienda che lavora fabbricando antenne. Ecco, allora nel nostro caso stiamo ragionando un'azienda senza server e senza software installato nei PC. Come si diceva prima, il PC dovrebbe essere una porta che mi apre la via per acquisire il servizio. Just a moment.
No problem, no problem.
So I think in our case, and if you consider the fact that we are a company that was born in 1933 to produce antennas, we are looking, in our case, at the possibility of working without a server. And as far as we are concerned, a PC must be like a door that is open to go and get services.
In questa via il tipo di prodotti che vanno installati, tipo Windows e cose del genere, sono un po' antiquati.
So when it comes to the type of products that we need to install, products such as Windows, as far as we are concerned, are antiquated.
Can I applaud?
Right, okay. Okay, anybody else, any comments?
Just one comment.
Yes, please.
In our organization, we're investigating VDI, virtual desktop infrastructure, and that sort of thing. We've kind of given it the code name Martini. If you remember the old Martini adds anytime, any place, anywhere. I've extended it to be anytime, any place, anywhere, any device. All you need is a browser. I'm more than hopeful. I'm confident that within the next 12 to 18 months, certainly within the next 6 months, we will have established an architectural feasible solution that we can deploy, which will start to, if you like, to make our user access into whatever it is they want to do, independent of the sort of technical decisions we have to make about specific vendor offerings. Microsoft is one of those, for me, monopoly providers over the last 20 years that has really been in a position in terms of client organizations where we've basically had to accept what they give us and also the commercial terms that they give us.
Okay.
Now we have real choice.
Fair enough. Do we have another question? Yes, sir. Over there.
Thanks. My name's John Pike from Cordis. Having just listened to the answer to that, and one of the question I have in mind is, regardless of the type of version of Windows you're using, do any of you actually see yourselves ever writing an application or writing to the Windows API and writing Windows applications ever again, or are those days finished?
I would say that I'm sorry to say this, but I mean the Windows application will be there for a while. I mean there are areas where you simply cannot avoid the Windows application, where you cannot avoid to get the client server. I mean, we are not talking here about black and white. I mean, we cannot say that we are going to move the entire organization into the cloud in 6 months or 1 year time. I mean, there are stuff that is going to be there, client server is going to be there on the server. I mean, this gentleman is probably running as many CAD workstations that my organization is running. I mean, CAD workstation, what can you do? I mean, CAD workstation needs to be a workstation. I mean, needs to stay there. I mean, a lot of applications needs to stay on that PC. And there are few client-server applications that are heavy, and you cannot depend on the external network to run. If you are moving image, if you are moving 3D graphics, I mean, this is something that you cannot move out. But at the same time, you need to start moving the stuff out. Everything that is possible to move on a browser and move on the cloud, you should be trying to do it if possible. That is my view.
I agree.
Yeah, and the browser will be the next desktop operating system. Extended browser.
Okay, we could call it Chrome, couldn't we? Okay. Do we have another question, please?
Yeah.
Sorry, yep. Okay. Do we have a microphone, please? I know you don't have a microphone. I mean.
Throw it over.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Peter Court. I work for a bit of the civil service. Jeremy, Jaguar not quite the biggest customer of Google Apps, I think, as you were going to reprise in a minute. But the question I've got is a lot of us use...
we make better products than the biggest customer.
Fantastic, yeah. A lot of us use systems integrators, companies like EDS, Fujitsu, HP, I could go on. So there'll be people in the room who see those people as their suppliers. And yet now you luminaries on the balcony are talking to us about having a different bunch of suppliers. So what's been the reaction of your systems integrators, please?
Over to you. Who, Jeremy?
Well, one of... how can I put this? Over the last 12 months, we've, if you like, established a small set of what I'd call long-term strategic partnerships. I won't mention their names at this moment, but you can probably guess the sort of organizations. These are the traditional sort of consulting organizations that outsource traditional sort of IT technologies. They're heavily bolted into, if you like, the IT strategy at Jaguar and Land Rover. So some of the concepts around where we are looking to deploy cloud solutions, I mentioned VDI just a few minutes ago. They're part of that journey. They're helping us establish, if you like, the underneath the strategy, if you like, the technical feasibility and the models. So they're part and parcel of it. And this is just introducing, if you like, what I would imagine will become additional long-term strategic partnerships.
Okay, John, Marcello, perhaps you could comment on existing
My
suppliers.
view is that if you try to scratch the surface, they are not going to like it because you're cutting away the middleman. That is my only point.
I mean, have they actually reacted to you, or is this...
No, they cannot react, obviously, but they are not happy.
No, of course.
But there are things they can do already in the cloud.
Sure.
Yes.
You know, so they can offer VDI solutions. Take HP, for example, right? They're a traditional sort of outsourcing organization, IT services outsourcing organization. They are now trying to stand up hosted cloud VDI solutions. So they're there. We're trying to get there.
You know, cloud computing is a lot of opportunities for IT service providers. It is the same question as this morning, disrupted or disruptor, you know? And we have been talking a lot of how cloud computing is enabling us to do the same thing, but better, faster, easier, and cheaper. But also very interesting and excited is to consider how cloud computing will enable us to do things we cannot do before. And this is a lot of opportunities. And that's where we want to be.
Okay. Do we have another question? Yes, sir. Front row here.
Hello again, David Badger, IDC. Our survey shows that over 70% of European organizations use cloud services somewhere in their organization. Very often those applications will have arrived by the business itself going out and buying. That's particularly the case with CRM. Some others will have arrived centrally, like email filtering and so on. But I'm more interested in the ones that have arrived, and I'm sure that you, even if you don't know it, you will have some of those applications internally. Certainly my organization has some of those applications internally. How do you deal with those? Do you embrace them, learn from them, or do you think that they're really getting in the way of your rolling out your core strategy?
Okay. Would you like to take that?
I can comment maybe. For sure, you're right. You're right. That's a huge opportunity for business themselves to start to find the right application without informing or keeping the CIO in the loop. What we did is definitely, and the Google initiatives was there as well, to reinforce the fact that IT was not the former IT with rules and things that can't move and things like that. And we really wanted to demonstrate to the company that we were in the innovative wave and that they can count on us if they have other idea or other needs. What we are doing, because we are looking as well for CRM at a cloud solution, what we are doing is definitely we are moving with them. It's much more easy for us to run a CRM project with the cloud than on-premise, because it requires less investment from us, less staff. So it's much more easy to be quicker, and that's another key driver for the business to be I would say, time to market with this application. So we are not perceived anymore as the brakes, but we are perceived as the cooperator or the facilitator that help them being tied to market and embrace the new technology.
Okay.
At the same time, people need to understand that a corporation is not a family business. So it's not that you can bring your own application, plug it in, and start using without anybody knowing. And that, in my view, is probably one of the biggest risks we got with the cloud computing. I'm not saying we have to get everything squared and everything set up, but I mean, a corporation is a corporation. I mean, you need to get the information under control, the security under control, the assets under control, the permission to the people to use application under control. So we need, one of the big risks that we are getting with the cloud computing is the fact that we are losing control over these elements. So security, access right, data control. And this, in my view, is probably one of the biggest element of discussion that we are seeing when we deal with the cloud computer supplier. They are mostly coming from the consumer, and so the importance that they are giving to this priority is lower than what we perceive should be inside an organization.
Okay, I think we have time for one more very quick question. There's someone in the corner over there. just behind the pillar there. Got him. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm Matt Ballantyne, Head of IT at Imagination. I'm interested in the conversations that have been had about the future of the CIO role going forward, and actually just tapping into what was just said then about the loss of control and that consumer-led technology is seeing a very different use of IT to anything that businesses have seen before. We've lost control. The control has gone because it's out there already. And I wonder where people see the role of CIO in helping to shepherd team-working and collaboration within organisations as opposed to automating processes and putting in controls, because I think that's where the opportunities are going forward as the cloud takes over in providing services.
Okay.
I think we lost control 20 odd years ago when, well, say in the early 80s when the PC and the network PC became so affordable that pieces of organizations could do their own thing. And I've worked for now in my career 5 big international organizations, substantial international organizations, and every single one of them is the same. They've got masses and masses of fragmented business applications doing different things in different ways on different sets of data models. And I'd say that the bread and butter job of the IT function over the last 20 years has been stemming the flow, keeping those things working, and knitting those applications together with data interfaces. So I think we lost control a long time ago. I actually think this gives us a chance, if you like, to get back in control. Sure, there are hundreds of instances where existing cloud services are being used. Anybody with a mobile phone or a browser is going to access the stuff he can, because he can, and there's nothing wrong in that. The problem is where some of those applications organically grow to the point where they become mission critical, they have sensitive intellectual property contained in them, or they have to be interfaced back into some of the big corporate applications. And that's where we're behind the curve. So my answer is get ahead of the curve. And I think here's an opportunity. This will, I think, go for the next 5, 10 plus years exactly the way network PC applications went 20 years ago. If we don't understand it, embrace it, and start leading our business down the right path to adopt it. Because if we don't, they will adopt it on their own. And before we know it, in 10 years' time, in our organization, there'll be hundreds of fragmented cloud applications, all doing different things on different data models, and we'll be suffering the consequences of trying to make sense of it and collect it all together. It's the same old, same old.
Thank you very much indeed for that. Claudio, one very quick comment, because we are out of time. But please.
Solo 2 cose. Credo, come diceva, che questa sia l'occasione perché il CEO si occupi di più del business e anche della parte di infrastruttura di rete, da una parte. Si vuole tradurre?
Yes, I think as just been said, quite rightly, this is a unique opportunity for CIOs because he will have more time to look at the business and also at the infrastructure.
E l'altro aspetto, e chiudo subito, è sì, è vero, la decisione viene presa dal board, però che decreta il successo sono le persone. E questa è anche la maniera perché le persone possano lavorare meglio assieme. C'è bisogno di lavorare assieme, c'è bisogno di avere la realizzazione di portare le proprie idee all'azienda. E questa è la via.
Yes, it is true what has been said, that the decisions are taken at the board level, but it is also true that if you want success, this is obtained via the people who implement it. And therefore, it's very important that the people should work together, cooperate, and that the needs are made known and that any new ideas are brought to the company.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for that, and thank you all 5 of you. Clearly loads more to say. Once again, people will be around if you want to buttonhole them later. In the meantime, thank you very much indeed for your time.